Welcome back to the late day wrap up, of which I'm scared, but not for Bitcoin actually, or major markets in general. So with that said, we'd like to wish you the best and the happiest of the happiest, and let's get into it right now. Start off with good old Dixie, of which we get the pullback that we were speaking about yesterday to today, to that $91.50 region, now bouncing up, and I would be looking for this one to try to bounce a little bit more from this territory. So that will put downside pressure on all major fiat pairs that trade versus the dollar, of course. Can be a little bit indicative of, you know, of a little bit of downside pressure on, of course, major assets as well, but a little bit less so in that case, as we did identify yesterday that there's been several times where both Dixie and traditional markets and just the major broad markets in general rally together. So not really anything too much directly, you know, contrary right there, but more importantly, if you are trading Forex, that would be relevant for you. And with that said, I would be looking for this one to try to bounce back up towards about the $92 region and then come back to it after that. Obviously, the weekly still looks to me like it's in a bit of a short-term pullback with still long-term up implied, as anytime that we have seen these long-term macro bottoms, which we have been looking at this one for the past 3 months, we have seen them, well, at the very least, put in not just one leg, but several, but you know, rally for it, typically like several years at a time, actually, going off with this one over here in 2018, this one over here in 2011, this one over here in 08, and 95 and 90, and you already fucking know that because we've seen it a billion goddamn times. Anyways, more importantly with this, we do see that this is accompanied by bullish divergence coming off the weekly lows, and momentum also is also pointing northwards. So I do look for this one to very likely over the next probably the next few months make its way back up towards the $93-ish region. But for now, a little bit of sideways, a little bit of downside, plays out a bounce there. And, well, I mean, we've kind of seen the sideways and downside here. I'd be looking for a bounce first, come back to it tomorrow, see where it closes off for the weekly, and decide if it's going to very likely continue in this next week to come, or if we see a little bit of a week consolidation before another try to that direction. So with that in mind, let's go over and let's actually check out Euro Dollar today. I'm actually curious just because I do want to do a little bit more Forex here, of which, where is my damn Euro Dollar? Well, I guess it's on my main charts anyway, so we can go over here, and where are you? Found you. Nice one. And Euro Dollar actually playing out a little bit of a bouncy bounce here, of which I would kind of play into the same territory as what we look at on Dixie, in the sense that Dixie very likely is going to play at a bounce, which this one is actually rejecting its bounce thus far. So I'd be looking for that to kind of play obtuse to it and probably come back down, grind out the 118.25 or 118 ish region, and probably try another bounce from that region at the same time. So short term down, probably does try another bounce off this region as well. However, in line with what Dixie's next move coming in next week is. Looking at the weekly, probably going to try to put in a higher low right here if I had to guess, as we do see divergences forming with massively lower lows on RSI, potential higher lows on price action, but this week still has, you know, another trading day left to go. But if you do see this week close something like this, and then we see next week take out the 120-ish region, then that would be good enough for me, and I'd be looking for moves back up to about 121.25-ish region. Anyways, moving on to, or no, we're on the right charts already. Nice. All right, let's move on to NASDAQ over here, of which, where are we? We're looking for a little bit of extension of bounce on today, and what do we see? We see an extension of bounce. Hey, isn't that fucking crazy? So what do we see? What did we say earlier this morning? Hidden bullish divergence plus momentum also is turning up, plus just all major markets kind of turning up towards their prior all-time highs, even making new all-time highs in case of Dow Jones was given the bias that this one was going to pull through as well, of which I would be looking for this one to signal the next major leg up. If you see this, which personally speaking, I think it's more or less a formality. I think it's very likely to happen. It'll be this. I want to see a daily closure above the 21 exponential moving average, or even the 55, or just even above yesterday's high. If one of those three things happens, I'd be looking for the next leg up to about 13,300-ish region, or 13,350, and very likely does continue onwards and upwards, as we do see that across all major indices. Start off with SPY over here, of which this one has met our 39.30 target for today, and or nope, 39.29. Fuck Krown, he's wrong. But I mean, it probably does. And we actually even have a little bit of an inverted head and shoulders right here too, between this point, and this point. Volume signature not perfect on that one, but I imagine in line with what we see on Dow Jones. Yes, I would be looking for this one to retest the prior all-time high at about 39.50 or 39.60, and very likely make new all-time highs. Next area of interest to the upside for the long term is going to be about just above 4,000 bucks, in line with the 1.272 right there. On top of that, I would be looking for, or would I be looking for a short-term pullback based off? Nope, it looks fucking good right here. Looks fucking good, man. Let's move on to Dow Jones. Dow Jones looking at powerful AF, making new all-time highs, as we said was very likely over the next couple days, and well, that's what we're seeing right now. Actually, still looking for about 32,800-ish region for the next sort of short-term area of interest. maybe a little bit of a short-term pullback from that region, but for now, it's in a blue sky breakout. No real reason to fade this, and overall, I would be looking generally higher. And this one is kind of leading the traditional marks right now, as the other two being rotated down, especially Nasdaq taking the brunt of that last downside, and in SPY futures taking it a little bit less, but still in comparison to what we see on Dow Jones, more so. So Dow Jones is the leader right now, and of course if we go check it on the IWM, the mid caps right here, same sort of thing here too. The broad market is essentially making new all-time highs, so I really do like this one as well. It's kind of like a general gauge of strength for the overall market, and a clear just melt up from these levels that we saw in 2018, 2019, more importantly. And I'd be looking for, well, new all-time highs on top of this. Yes, it is very fucking aggressive. Yes, it is incredibly vertical right there, but at least I'd be looking for another leg up. What would the next sort of targets to the upside be? I mean, you do have a bit of a bull flag going on right here, so technically you could make image move off that. I'll do a very bad one right now. Something like this would be about right. And that'll be pointed up a little bit north towards about 250. Yeah, nice round number right there, 245 to 250. Let's actually put a extension on here as well. I'm just curious if it lines up with anything. And let's actually get this on closing basis. What do you know? The two spot extension, 247. I'm saying 245. Close enough. It's fucking close enough. I'd say that's good confluence right there. Be looking somewhere around 245 to 250-ish region, over the next few weeks, most likely. Anyways, moving on to gold. Looking for a bounce on gold, and I believe we are still in the midst of a bounce on gold. If I can fucking find gold, where the hell are you, gold? Gold, Peter Schiff, where you been hiding this shit? Actually, bounce getting faded a little bit, but it did hit our 1750, or did it hit our 1750-ish target? 1740-ish region, close enough is close enough on that one. A little bit of a short-term pullback here, as would be expected. Now, I do think that this one will try higher over time. Where does this one kind of find its pullback down towards? I mean, it could come back down towards 1710-ish region. Don't really have a strong opinion on that. My strong opinion is on this one very, 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 very likely over the next few weeks, putting in a rally somewhere around like the upper 1700s region. Really wouldn't do too much for the macro trend, but looking at the weekly right here, I mean, you got several things going on. Bounce off the 89 exponential average, also a long-term area from June 2020 as well. And we do see that wouldn't take too much for a weekly STO start turning back up as well. And weekly RSI, great, rejecting thus far the bearish control zone on its first test, which is very, 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 very normal and natural. So I'd at the very least be looking for a test up to the exponential here, and then game on after that. And that would imply, a little bit of upside in the meantime. Anywhere between 1750 and 1780 or 1790 would be completely fine. So I look at that as, pretty much in progress of bounce, which I think we're seeing right now, actually. But like I said, on the short-term time frames, does it play out another short-term downside move? Potentially, yes. Kind of this, but I don't really feel all that compelled by that. Anyways, on to Bitcoin. Is it Bitcoin time? I think it's Bitcoin time. Hey, what do you fucking know? It's another higher low, as we, but in a more sincere tone and in a more serious tone. Following up from this morning's video, yes, we did see the hidden bullish divergence play get fully confirmed between this higher low right here and this higher low right here, and continuation to the prior all-time high. Very, very likely, as momentum also is also going to have a chance to turn back up along that same tick, while it is essentially in trending motion on expanding historic volatility percentile. So we're seeing expansion plus trend plus momentum all kind of twisting in the same direction, and this is why I do favor the RSI, especially in these sorts of environments right here. And I'd be looking for that to very likely test the prior all-time high, and if we can actually get continuation, which I do think that Bitcoin inevitably will get. The question is, when does it play out a bigger pullback before that or not? I think that Bitcoin's actually a little more likely to kind of head off from here than not. And the reason why I say that is based off of the daily on our secondary charts that we've been looking at for the past few days. So I don't want to go through the full rigmarole on this. Check out this morning's video if you want the full dissection on that, I suppose. But I'll briefly go over it right now. We see several things going on right here that, traditionally speaking, are kind of leading into a bit of a breakout. First and foremost, well, maybe not first and foremost, but one of the big ones would be the MACD giving a bullish cross alongside breaking above the median of, or sorry, not the median, but the medium term resistance of this range. More importantly, we do see that is accompanied by hidden bullish divergence on the MACD histogram. And on top of that, we do see that we have a bullish ADX DMI signal with the DMI plus being dominant, ADX strengthening at the same time. Same thing that we saw back and over here on this run from February. Very interesting. Same thing that we saw back and over here from this run in December. Very fucking interesting again on that run, by the way, from 20,000 to basically 40,000. This one over here from like 39,000 all the way to 58,000 bucks, and this one way the fuck back on over here from 11,000 all the way to 20,000 basically, and the time before that from about 9,000 to 12,500. So pretty damn good history of that. And more importantly, as we're seeing it right now, I would be looking for Bitcoin. I just generally favor the upside here. Also, I've been talking about this interplay between the bottom side Trollinger Band and the 55 exponential average. And I don't want to go through the full rigmarole. Again, check out the video from this morning, as it will go into that. But more importantly, with that, we do see that anytime it does cross the 55, that being cross above the bottom side Trollinger Band, that is essentially alongside a move above the 20-cent moving average as well. This brown moving average right here. All those three things need to be combined with each other, and that is typically your next sort of successive drive out of the prior base, like you see right here, like you see right here, like you see way the fuck on over here, and several times in the year prior. So all of that combined with each other, I do look at as more or less good. And of course, referencing the weekly as well, we essentially are playing at that hidden bullish divergence, which I did say was very likely to retest the prior all-time high. And in this sort of posture, when you're kind of already around your prior all-time high, typically those leads into new all-time highs alongside momentum turning up at the same time, plus on expanding historical volatility percentile. So all of this is looking pretty damn good to me. I'd essentially be looking for continuation. Does Bitcoin want to play out a short-term pullback? I mean, it's kind of the same thing as this morning. We did see that move to the 21 on the 4-hour. Not really registering all that much, so it's like, what time frame are you focusing on? So I think maybe it's best for me to not even talk about the short-term time frames here, just because, I mean, you can just go level by level, but I really have no change in opinion for the short and medium-term time frames as long as Bitcoin's above 52,500 pivot. This level right here, or I think it's maybe better seen on our charts that we were working off this morning. Yep, right here, alongside the 786 retracement. And still to the upside, if and when Bitcoin does break above our prior high of about $58,000, I'd just generally be bullish, looking for Bitcoin to meet what I am looking at as a mesh move here to about $69,000. Stops very likely along the way, right around the 3-spot extension. I'd say $62,000 is an area of interest, and then $66,000. Both of those are kind of fraught with peril, but ultimately, I mean, I'm kind of just looking further north on Bitcoin over the next couple weeks here, unless especially as long as above 52,500-ish region. Below there, we can talk about greater pullbacks. In that case, I would be looking for a move back down somewhere around $49,000 and probably bounce there, and then come back and re-analysize it to see if that's some sort of a major failure or not. But for right now, it's just not all that relevant because we're closer to being about $10,000 away from that than not, in fact. So fair enough on that one. And I kind of look at the general market here, of which most things kind of moving towards moving in that direction. I'm actually curious what Mr. Buterell's doing. Yeah, not as strong, to be fair, actually. Not as strong indeed, but does have potential hidden bullish divergence in play over here too. That would imply targets back up to about 1850-ish region. But I'd look for Bitcoin to kind of give the direction here. If I'm looking at the greater altcoin sphere, I do think that it is possible for some things to come further back down into range, but I'd still look at that as an opportunity long term. So, it's again always mediated by these different zones. I'd look at this first one here, 54.4, then 52.2, and as long as Bitcoin's above there, I don't really see any real reason to be talking about like any major pullbacks. I'm kind of just mostly focused on the higher term timeframes right now, especially with momentum oscillators trending up across the board here on the 2-day, which just closed last night. No, not last night, but the night before, and the 3-day, which closed last night, which is turning up as well and holding to the bullish control zone, plus also playing out hidden bullish evidence. So all these things combined with each other does just make me generally kind of look to the north side here. And with that said, I would like to wish you the best and the happiest. Take care, and until next time.